today's video is kind of cool because I came across an original 1910s, 1920s Chase and Sanborn coffee tin. And it was in really good shape, and it was 10 bucks right next to some other coffee cans that were like $25, and they're kind of rusty and grungy looking. So I'm like, man, I did a quick search on this and I couldn't figure out anything quickly, but I took a bet on it, you know. For 10 bucks, like, you know, if nothing else, I can slap a label on there and maybe it'll squeak by. And I hit the jackpot. This is really cool. It did not have a label on it. So now I'm doing some research and I'm trying to come up with a label, and this is my mocked up label. It's not identical to what there was because it didn't have a label, and I couldn't find one that was in good enough shape that I could try to get a clear idea. But if you are interested in the history of Chase and Sanborn coffee and up close pictures of this work and comparing it to historical pieces, then check out on my website, www.honorableoutfitters.com, because I'll have a complete write-up about it. But today's video is not just about coffee and Chase and Sanborn, because, you know, some of you might have already had Chase and Sanborn and have your opinions. Today's video is actually about the importance of hot beverages with a free review thrown in there. Throw it in the mix, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about Chase and Sanborn and how I was able to find it. Then we're going to shift into how you can carry your beverage of choice. Maybe it's not even coffee or tea, maybe it's hot cocoa, right? So we're going to talk about containers. And then you're going to get my awesome review as we go through 3 different types of camp cooking methods. We're going to go through a percolator, a camp percolator. We're going to do a Cowboy Coffee, and we're going to do just your average traditional kitchen percolator, okay? Because those are the 3 methods that we got, and those are the 3 methods that we're going to do. And I'm going to give you my honest opinion, my honest review about Chase and Sanborn. I've never had this coffee. Didn't know it even existed until I came across this. Isn't experiential archaeology just awesome, right? Okay, so let's talk about Chase and Sanborn coffee. Now on the can itself, it says founded in Boston in 1862 by Caleb Chase and James Sanborn. This brand was the first ground coffee to be distributed to both coasts. And they also have the supposed bragging rights. They were the first coffee company to ship in sealed tins. So that's kind of interesting. Now online I found 1864, so maybe there's some difference in there. Since the actual company says 1862, I lean more towards this, but I just don't know, okay? But Chase and Sanborn coffee being around in the 1860s until now gives us a great opportunity to taste a little bit of history. Now, the coffee is probably not the exact same blends and recipes and all that other stuff, okay? But, you know, having some old school style coffee with this kind of heritage is kind of neat, you know? It's like, you know, your favorite cologne growing up as a kid. Chances are the formula they used when you were a kid, you know, in teenage years going out and everything, is probably not the same formula that you're at now. You know, so things change. There's no way I'm going to claim that this is probably the same formula and everything as the 1860s. But it is cool being able to find a company that has that kind of heritage that we can fall back on. Now, where can you purchase Chase and Sanborn? Luckily here in the Midwest, I was able to find it at my local Menards store. You can also order it online. Now it is more expensive online. I put a link down below on my Amazon affiliates page so you can see if this is something that you want to give it a shot. Otherwise, check out your local Menards. Now we're going to talk about containers. Historically, you know, these tins were pretty solid. So this would have been okay to carry when you're going out camping. The problem is with the size. Now on the original label, it says this was packaged in 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound, and 5 pound cans. So having a 1 pound can, this is definitely more of a 2 or 3 pound can, would be okay. But, you know, the bulk and the size of it, that's a lot. So what I like to do is I like to take my coffee, my sugar, in tins like this. And it has a screw top or a really nice friction fit. Again, in my links below, I put, a couple different sizes of these tins. That way you can buy them yourself. They're really affordable and they're safe. You can also package your coffee in poke sacks. I did a video about poke sacks a year or so ago. You could check out that video at the end of this. But the problem with poke sacks, even if it's an enameled poke sack, the freshness of your coffee is going to leave. Now, being new to this brand of coffee, I think I'm going to follow the directions. Normally, when I make my cups of coffee, I usually add 1 more tablespoonful than what it suggests. Just about every coffee that I've seen, the instruction says for each 6-ounce cup, you want 1 tablespoon of coffee. So if you have, for example, 6 cups that you are making in the morning, you would want 6 tablespoons. Well, I do it a little bit differently. For 6 cups, which is what I normally make in the morning, I will actually add 4 tablespoons. So I take the number, I divide it by 2, and add 1. It's kind of weird, but that's what I do. That's the mid-range that I found that's worked out for my wife and I. So for our first taste, though, I'm going to follow the directions. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon per cup. All right, let's get to it. I suppose if we're going to do a review, we should also probably review the smell, and that's one of the most enjoyable things, opening up the can of coffee in the morning. I didn't think about that until I got ready to record this getting boiled up. So it is nicely sealed. Doesn't have one of those paper foil. This is actually like legitimate tin sealed. That's kind of interesting. All right, so it's not a super dark grain. It's not a very strong smell, not like when you open up a can of Folgers. It has this chocolatey smell to it. In truth, when I saw this as an old style coffee, I was kind of expecting a burnt smell to it, just like overly cheap, because this was actually pretty affordable. When you take a long breath instead of just a short breath, you get more of the strong coffee smell to it, and it does kind of have that, not burnt, but definitely right between caramelization and burnt. And that's kind of all I'm getting from it. Okay, so I don't know if you're a coffee connoisseur and I'm describing this wrong. Again, I'm pretty low class, low brow when it comes to my coffee. But it is pretty faint. It's not overpowering as soon as you open up the can. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this on the stove, put it in the percolators, and I'll bring it back and we'll get to do the taste test. How the taste test is going to work is we're going to have a sip with just coffee, straight coffee. No cream, no sugar. In truth, I usually like a little bit of sugar and cream with my coffee. But just to be fair, we're going to do just to be fair, the first one, we're just sipping the coffee. That is it. The second one is we're going to add a little bit of cream because the cream actually enhances coffee flavor. And that's not just me. That is legitimate. Coffee people, they add a little bit of cream because it does enhance the flavor. What I'm looking for is to see if it's acidic, if it's pretty mellow, how smooth it is, any of the flavors that you traditionally get. Is it just watered down coffee looking water, or does it have a good robust taste to it? Same thing, does it taste burnt? Now, if you compare Starbucks, like Pike's Peak or Pike's Blend, Pike's something, it tends to have a little bit of a slight burnt taste. It's pretty bold and robust. This being a cheaper end coffee, I don't expect that. I expect it to be more mellow and maybe medium roast. Okay, let's go try it out. If you like this video, please click like. That way other people find it and you'll be helping them out and spread the word. We really appreciate it. Hey, so we're going to do 3 taste tests. We've got just regular kitchen pot coffee, from the kitchen percolator. Then we have the traditional camp pot style percolator. And lastly, we have Cowboy Coffee, okay? Now, I try to be as precise as I could with the amount of water and the amount of grounds in each to make this a fair deal. Now, the first taste is going to be just regular coffee. There's no additions to it whatsoever. The second one's going to have cream in it, no sugar. That's it. One of the perks that I bestow upon my patrol leaders and my senior patrol leaders with their parents' permission is the ability to drink coffee. They're the only youth in the troop who are actually allowed to partake in coffee. This is something that was done to me when I was a scout. As the patrol leader and senior patrol leader, it was always one of our responsibilities to get up in the morning and get the coffee going. It's just a tradition that all of us kind of look forward to because it was a level of stepping up to manhood, if you will, okay, growing up just a little bit and being one of the only ones to actually be able to participate in drinking coffee made the chore even that much more enjoyable. And of course, we always got ribbed a little bit by the scoutmaster and the assistant scoutmasters on whether or not the coffee was good or not so good. That was just part of the fun as well. Okay, so let's try the coffee. Now let's try the coffee. Now this is pretty dark and the aroma is pretty good. It doesn't have a burnt smelling aroma whatsoever. Okay, it's pretty bold. It's fairly acidic. I don't think it's extremely acidic, but it's definitely acidic. It's not terribly smooth. It tastes a lot like, now I might get some grief from this, but it tastes a lot like your old school 1990s truck stop coffee. My dad, who was a truck driver, he had an affinity for going to truck stops. And this definitely reminds me of those early 90s, mid 90s truck stops. It's not offensive. It's actually better than many other cheap brands of coffee that I've had. All right, let's try it with the cream. It's very pleasant, actually. With the cream, I would say the acidity is lessened. It's mellowed out quite a bit with the cream. And with the cream, you can actually taste more of that chocolatey taste that I was kind of getting from smelling it. But that'd be a really good morning cup of coffee. All right, let's try the other one. All right, the next is going to be the traditional camp pot of coffee. So if we, this one definitely smells more bold. There's a reason why campfire coffee always tastes better than home coffee, at least in my opinion. And I think a lot of it has to do with the percolation process. Oh yeah. So this is actually smoother. You don't get the acidic taste like with the other one. And it's certainly more bold. This would be a really, really good cup of campfire coffee. If you're sitting around the campfire, this would be really nice. Okay, so all right, now let's try the cream. Oh man, if that enhances it, just like the previous one. We're going to expect that, but the flavor profile that comes from this is now more caramelized. You still got the chocolate that's going with it, but it's not bitter, it's not acidic, it's very, very smooth. But still, you got that bold, rich coffee flavor. That tastes so good. Like this is awesome. This is the way to do it. All right, now let's go for the third one. This third one is made in my Civil War stainless steel mucket. I actually have a tin mucket, but I decided to go with stainless steel for this particular one because sometimes the tin can impart a little bit of a different flavor. So I wanted to try to make this as neutral as possible, which is why I chose the stainless steel. So what we have here is I poured water into it, cold water, and then I took the same amount of scoops. There were 4 scoops of coffee that I put on top because it's Cowboy Coffee, and I got it to a boil. Once it boiled for 5 minutes, I took it off, let it rest for a little bit, and just put a little bit of cold water over it. That way it settles the coffee grounds, and that's what we should expect. Now, funny thing, when I get a little bit of cabin fever during the winter months or even early spring, either I go around and I start smelling my old Civil War uniforms or anything else that may have that campfire smell just to take me back, a little bit. But also I will make either campfire coffee, either in a cowboy style like this or with the campfire pot. It's just something about it that tastes better to me. And it brings me out to all my past camping experiences. Okay. All right, now for this one, I can't say it smells more robust. It's actually it's a little bit lighter, I think, than the traditional. I think it's a little bit lighter than the kitchen pot of coffee. It's not as strong smelling. But it's just as dark. It's pretty mellow, pretty smooth. It's a little bit more acidic, actually, than the campfire pot. But it's not as acidic as the kitchen pot. I would say it's a little bit on the heavier side of a medium roast. It's not a dark roast, but a little bit heavier than a medium roast from this. But the acidity is there more in this type. All right, now with the cream. It's okay. Like, it's good, but the cream just washes out a lot of the flavors doing the Cowboy Coffee method. So, all right, between the three contenders, who wins out of the 3? If I was going to cook this coffee in one of these methods, which would I choose? That's actually easy. It's this middle one here. It'd be the Campfire pot of coffee. Something about the percolator and everything brought out the boldness, but also made it pretty smooth. The other 2 have more acidity. I don't really care for a lot of acidic type coffees. I grew up on Maxwell House because that's what my parents always drank. And I would say Maxwell House was fairly acidic, so that's why I switched over to Folgers, and Folgers has that smooth, rich, bold flavor that I like, right? So with my personal preferences, with what I like, my bias, I would go with this middle one here. And it also has, that coffee flavor that you really want on a cold camp out that just warms your soul, in my opinion. This one here, like this tastes just like a nice diner coffee. The acidity isn't so high that it's repulsive, but it's definitely more present. And this one, between the 3, I think this one just is a little bit subpar. It doesn't have the flavors. Perhaps if I would have boiled it longer or added more coffee to it, it would have drawn more of the flavors out. But just putting the standard amount of coffee in this and boiling it, and for 5 minutes, just like what I did with this one here, it didn't do it for me. So when you prepare to take your coffee out in the field, take this consideration in there. Maybe on the stove, you try out the different type of combinations like I just did. That way, when you go out in the field, you're better. Always prepare and test out your recipes before you go outdoors. It'll save you a lot of frustration, just bring you that joy that you're looking for. Now, Chase and Sanborn, my review. Would I buy this coffee again? Actually, yes. Especially for Campfire. This was extremely enjoyable in this type of setting. I don't think I would buy it for my morning coffee, just because I think Folgers taste a little bit better. My brand of Folgers tastes a little bit better. But Chase and Sanborn for Campfire Coffee is fantastic. It brings out all the flavors. It's really smooth, low acidity, it's bold, it's rich. You get that chocolate and caramel taste with it. I like this a lot. So if you're interested in buying Chase and Sanborn, check out your local Menards or other grocery stores, right? Or you can look below in the description box. I have a link on Amazon so you can try it yourself. I think when I bought it at Menards last week, it was around $8. So it's pretty affordable for a big can of coffee, and this will last you quite a while. I can't wait to take it to the camp out for the other troop leaders, my patrol leader and senior patrol leader, to try it out themselves and let me know what they think. If you're interested in any of these type of containers, the nice 10 twist off containers, that way they're really lightweight, but you don't usually take a whole big can when you go backpacking or on a personal overnighter, then check out my description box below because the link's in there as well. And don't forget to check out my website, www.honorableoutfitters.com, because on there I will have the pictures and the write-ups about Chase and Sanborn. Now, if you're interested in more videos about historical campcraft that help you outfit and make some good choices, check it out here. And don't forget to check out my shop. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Give a kiss and hug to your loved ones, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Man, this is so good.